Imagine walking into your local bank on an ordinary Friday morning. People are paying bills, checking balances, and opening safe deposit boxes. Everything feels completely normal. Then, within seconds, armed men quietly take control of the building. No shots are fired, no one screams. But one of the greatest bank robberies in modern history has just begun. It was January 13, 2006. Just before noon, the Banco Río branch in Acasuso was busy with customers preparing for the weekend. Employees had no reason to suspect that the next few hours would become part of criminal history. A group of men entered the bank like ordinary customers. They wore casual clothes. Nothing about them looked unusual. Then, almost instantly, they revealed handguns and ordered everyone to stay calm. The robbery had officially begun. Unlike many violent robberies, these men remained surprisingly calm. They repeatedly told everyone that nobody would be hurt if they followed instructions. The hostages obeyed. The employees cooperated. Inside the bank, fear quickly turned into silence. Within minutes, someone managed to alert the police. The first patrol cars arrived almost immediately. Officers surrounded the entrance, believing they had trapped the robbers inside. But they had no idea what was actually happening beyond the locked doors. The employees cooperated. Inside the bank, fear quickly turned into silence. As more officers arrived, the situation became a national emergency. Negotiators contacted the robbers by telephone. The criminals spoke calmly. They insisted they did not want violence. Every minute that passed made the police believe they were successfully containing the situation. Television crews reached the scene. News helicopters circled above the bank. Thousands of people across Argentina began watching the live coverage. Everyone believed the same thing. The robbers were trapped. There was no possible escape. Inside the bank, 23 hostages waited in complete uncertainty. Some prayed quietly. Others simply stared at the floor. Time seemed to stop. Yet something strange was happening. The robbers showed no sign of rushing, almost as if time itself was working in their favor. Negotiations continued hour after hour. The police believed they were slowly exhausting the criminals. In reality, every extra minute was exactly what the robbers wanted, because their real objective was not the cash sitting in the front vault. Deep inside the building was a room filled with hundreds of private safe deposit boxes. Jewelry, cash, gold, family heirlooms, items whose value could never truly be measured. And that was the real target from the very beginning. While every camera focused on the front entrance, the robbers quietly began opening safe deposit boxes. One after another, they worked methodically, patiently, confidently, because they believed nobody would interrupt them. Outside, the police prepared for a possible assault. Snipers watched every window. Special forces waited for orders. The entire country expected a dramatic confrontation. No one imagined that the most important part of the robbery had already begun. The robbers had prepared for months. This was never meant to be a quick robbery. Every detail had been carefully planned long before they stepped inside the bank. The police believed they were watching every exit, but they were looking in the wrong direction. Beneath the building, hidden from everyone above, was the key to the entire operation. A secret escape route, not built overnight, not discovered by accident. It had been prepared long before the robbery ever began. While negotiators kept talking on the phone, the robbers continued opening safe deposit boxes. One after another, there was no panic, no rushing. They knew the police would not risk storming the bank while innocent people remained inside. Outside, the operation kept growing. Dozens of police vehicles surrounded the neighborhood. Snipers watched every window. Special forces waited for the command to enter. Reporters described the situation as if the robbers had nowhere left to run. Inside the vault, the criminals finished collecting cash, jewelry, watches, gold, and other valuables. The exact value would never be known. Many safe deposit boxes contained personal treasures that could never be replaced. Some owners never publicly revealed what they had lost. Hours had passed. The police believed time was working against the robbers. In reality, every passing minute brought them closer to success. Their most dangerous move was still ahead. Finally, the leader gave the signal. It was time to leave. Not through the front door, not through the roof, not disguised as hostages. They disappeared somewhere nobody was watching. The robbers left the hostages alive. They secured several doors behind them. Everything inside the bank suggested they were still hiding somewhere in the building. That illusion bought them the time they needed. One by one, they entered the hidden tunnel beneath the bank. The narrow passage led directly into Buenos Aires' storm drainage system. It was an escape route almost nobody knew existed, and it worked exactly as planned. Parts of the tunnel were filled with water. The gang used small inflatable boats to move through the underground channels. It sounded unbelievable, yet investigators later confirmed every detail. The escape had been carefully engineered. Far away from the bank, the tunnel reached a safe exit. The gang emerged unnoticed. Fresh clothes, waiting vehicles. Within minutes, they blended into the normal traffic of Buenos Aires. The largest police operation in the city was now guarding an empty building. Back at the bank, nothing seemed unusual. Negotiators were still trying to convince the robbers to surrender. The officers outside remained convinced they had complete control. Nobody realized the criminals had already vanished. Hours after the robbery began, police finally made the decision to enter the bank. Special forces prepared for a dangerous gunfight. Every officer expected armed resistance. Instead, they found something nobody could explain. The hostages were still inside, shaken, but alive. The robbers were gone. No gunfire, no final confrontation, no dramatic escape through the front entrance. The bank was completely empty. Investigators searched every room, every hallway, every office. Nothing. It was impossible. Hundreds of police officers had surrounded the building for hours. Yet somehow, the gang had disappeared without being seen. Then investigators discovered the tunnel. Everything suddenly made sense. The escape had never depended on speed. It depended on preparation. Months of planning had defeated one of the largest police operations in Argentina. The stolen valuables were difficult to estimate. Unlike cash stored by the bank, these were private belongings. Jewelry, gold, rare watches, family collections. Authorities estimated the total value at around $20 million. Some believed it was even higher. For weeks, the gang remained invisible. Police followed hundreds of leads. Nothing worked. It looked as if the perfect robbery had succeeded. Then something completely unexpected changed everything. The breakthrough did not come from technology. It did not come from surveillance cameras. It came from a personal relationship. One of the robbers was exposed after a dispute with his wife. The information she shared led investigators directly to the gang. Police began making arrests, one suspect after another. As investigators questioned the gang, the entire operation slowly came into focus. Every step had been planned with extraordinary precision. Authorities identified Fernando Araujo as the mastermind behind the robbery. Surprisingly, he was not a career bank robber. He had studied art and was known for his creative thinking. His unusual plan changed the history of modern bank robberies forever. The operation became known around the world as the heist of the century, not because it was the largest robbery, but because it relied on intelligence instead of violence. No hostages were killed, no shots were fired, yet the entire country was fooled. Books were written about the robbery, movies were made. Criminologists continue studying the operation even today. It remains one of the most carefully planned bank robberies ever carried out. The story proves one simple truth. Sometimes the most powerful weapon is not force. It is patience, preparation, and a plan so carefully designed that no one realizes it has already succeeded. If you enjoyed this true story, don't forget to subscribe. Every week, we uncover incredible real crimes, unbelievable mysteries, and the most fascinating events in history. No fiction, no exaggeration. Only real stories that are often stranger than anything Hollywood could imagine. Leave a comment below and tell us, what story should we investigate next? Thank you for watching.